What's up, what's up, what's up? This is Jamal Steer, jamalsteer.com, coming to you live out of Waiheke Island, and I'm coming to you today with the cost of living video. For those who are curious about Waiheke Island, Waiheke Island is the top 5 destinations in the world, voted by Lonely Planet, voted by the Travellers as well. So it's a very popular place in New Zealand to travel. And in the world. So if you're wondering what does it cost to live in Waiheke Island, let's start with rent. So accommodation, what are you going to pay for accommodation? You can pay up to $25 a night in a backpackers, and I've heard of people paying $140 a week to stay in like a shared accommodation backpackers style. That's one way, and then there's like you can get like a 1-bedroom flat for 350 New Zealand dollars. By the way, all the prices that I'm giving you are in New Zealand dollars, so head over to xe.com to do all your conversions. If you want your own space and you don't want to live with other people, you're paying 350 New Zealand dollars a week for a 1-bedroom place, kind of self-contained. But then you also have to think about, we don't have a water system that's connected to like a big to the mainland, so everybody catches their own water. So at periods of the year you might have to flash a bit of cash for some water, and that can cost you. Last time we paid for water, we got the minimum amount because that's all we could afford, and it was $150. Yeah, so for the minimum load it's $150, and then you've got, you know, it just goes up from there with the more water you want. And you got to think about you using water for drinking, for sanitary purposes, flushing the toilet, and for like showering and stuff like that, as well as washing your clothes. So water's a must. You can't get around that. If you run out of water, you have to purchase water. Yeah, so that is one of the, so accommodation, you can pay as little as $140 to live in like a backpacking environment, but obviously that's not ideal for a lot of people, but that is possible. So if we just say the minimum amount of money you're going to pay per week is $140 New Zealand for New Zealand dollars for accommodation. So that's accommodation covered. Let's talk about food. So food is quite expensive. We have probably like 6 or 7 main places where people go to get food. One's a supermarket. It's a chain supermarket. It's called Countdown, and you know, it like things go up and down in price. Different things are on special, so if you're not too fussy on what you're going to eat, and you don't have a rigid plan, you just go into the supermarket seeing what's cheap and then seeing what you can make out of it, you can have like a decent food budget. But still, if you want to eat fresh fruit and vegetables, some meat if you're not vegetarian, and things like that, you can easily go in to the supermarket 4 times a week and spend $80. Food is really like, so the price of milk is for 3 litres is about $5.50 New Zealand. That's a shame because we are the largest producer of dairy probably in the world, so what I've heard, and yeah, so we pay a lot for our milk, cheese and butter and things like that. So yeah, like a bottle of water, you can get like a 1.25 litre bottle of water. It's going to cost you 89 cents. You got to think about that when you're on Waiheke Island, that maybe your drinking water coming from your tank might not be the cleanest water. You might have to boil your water. The convenience of having bottled water, whether you're taking that to go to work or out to the beach or something during summer, 89 cents for a bottle of water is pretty good. So there's, you know, milk, water. What have we got? We got meat. So meat is super expensive here. I mean, you can pay for a kg of meat $17, and that's just, I'm talking about minced beef, or like, you know, $11 for two pork chops. And essentially you're paying for one meal, just for the meat portion of the meal. You're paying $12 or something like that. So in some cases, if you are a single person eating out at the local Chinese spot, you're going to get meat, vegetables. Say you get a chicken chow mein, you're going to get meat, vegetables, seasoning and stuff like that, all in one package, and it actually is cheaper than going and buying meat, vegetables, and then your carbohydrate, maybe rice, potatoes on top of that. You know, to get that meat portion, sometimes it's going to cost you like a lot more to if you want to eat beef or pork or anything that's not chicken. Chicken, on the other hand, there's a cheap way to buy chicken. You can buy it frozen. So that's about $12 per 2 kg bag. So you can get drumsticks or whatever, keep them in the freezer if you have a freezer, and cook that way. So that's a cheap way. I know all the cheap ways, not having a lot of money, and things being so expensive. So we've covered food, accommodation, transport. Okay, so there's quite a good bus system here. It runs with the ferries, and getting around by bus, it takes time because the buses run every hour in winter, every half an hour in summer, and yeah. So taxis vary. Like if you want to catch a taxi, you'll be traveling a very short distance for the amount of money you spend, you know. So I don't know what the zones are, but what I'm saying is if you're traveling like 1 or 2 kilometers, you may pay as much as you would pay for 15 or 10 to 15 kilometers in the city. Taxis are very expensive. Walking and hitchhiking are things that are free. So a lot of the times, if you live in the central part of Waiheke Island, you can walk most places. Only going to take you 20 minutes max. And hitchhiking is totally safe. I've never heard of anything bad happening to a hitchhiker on Waiheke Island because it's such a small community and we all look after each other. So, you know, like electricity is another weird thing. There's no like actual measurement for electricity. In winter your bills just seem to be like super ginormous through the roof. A lot of these houses are not they're not well insulated, so you're probably running a heater to keep warm, maybe an electric blanket, whatever else you got. I'm saying if you're coming here just setting up, you're probably not going to have all the crazy like big screen TVs or Xboxes or things like that, but electricity can get very expensive. Just to estimate for us, sometimes we spend $400 per month, 400 New Zealand dollars per month on electricity in the height of winter, and then in summer it's always about $200. So it's kind of double in winter for electricity. But then again, so if you're another thing I haven't discussed is if you move into a flat with other people, you can pay anything from $100 to $150 kind of to pay for a room. You can, like, if you want to live in a quite luxury place, because like Waiheke is sort of that average to million dollar property. So you've got places that are obviously more expensive to live. They're a bit nicer. They have things like heat pumps and modern kitchens and amazing views, just things like that. And you know, so what I'm saying is the cheapest you probably find to rent would be to pay $100, about $100, and I'm saying that's not including expenses like the power, the water, the internet, things like that. If you want to set up your own internet, it's about $100 a month for unlimited internet. $100, I'm saying 100 New Zealand dollars a month. They can get expensive. Also, if you're new to New Zealand, just even running a cell phone is going to cost, like once you got the phone, I mean, you can survive on spending $20 prepaid and just text message and use the internet and Wi-Fi for all your calling on messengers, apps like WhatsApp, Line, WeChat, all those, all those different apps. And if you can get away with contacting your friends and family via the internet connections. Also, some cafes have access to Wi-Fi, so all you have to do is buy a coffee. Maybe it's going to cost you $4 or $5 for a coffee, and then you can sit there for like until you finish your coffee, and maybe a little bit longer, and use the Wi-Fi there to communicate. Yeah, so that's kind of a simple breakdown of the what it's going to cost you to live and eat. There's one thing I got to say about Waiheke. It has a lot of second-hand stores that have a lot of really good stuff. So if you're kitting out your flat or your house, you can do that super cheap. Whether you're buying like appliances, maybe you want to buy a stereo for your house, it might cost you $10. And you might get like good speakers and a stereo. You might want a bread maker, you could get that for $15 second hand, and you can get like all your plates, utensils, setting up. I'm just saying, if you did choose the $350 option of renting your own place, having your own space, and doing it that way, you'd be able to kit out your house with some second-hand plates, if you don't mind. That sort of stuff, super cheap. I'm talking like 50 cents a plate, that sort of thing. And if you don't know anybody, you're only buying like 2 or 3 plates for yourself, a couple of forks, knives, whatever it is, to set up. So let's just do some adding right now. I'm going to take the light off because I'm just using my phone. Let's do some adding. Okay, a quick summary. So basically, if you want to live in Waiheke and you want to have a decent quality of living, you have to pay for it. So it's the most expensive petrol in New Zealand. If you're running a car, it is one of the most expensive places to buy food. Yeah, it's quite expensive. So at the very least, you're paying $200 New Zealand a week. And that's even if you're a backpacker, and that's not including like trips to the city, that's not including beers, nights out, things like that. A beer can cost you $10 here, $10 easy. So if you compare that to Asian countries and places like that, it's not super cheap to be here. But if you do get a job here, which, like I said, there's plenty of work available. If you're willing to do whatever, and like you get enough to live and have the occasional night out or whatever like that. So but yeah, if you want to set up your own flat, man, you can live in Chiang Mai, Thailand, for a month on the money that you would spend in about a week and a half here. So yeah, I mean, it's a measure of cost of living to let you know what it is. And definitely, if you're thinking about coming here, it is one of the most beautiful, tranquil places. I'm going to leave you with some shots of the island, and the reason why people do live here. It's one of the most peaceful, serene, natural, native, beautiful bush, and beaches that you'll find anywhere, beautiful vineyards and things like that. But I just wanted to outline some of the costs for some of those of you out there who are thinking about coming to New Zealand and thinking about setting up shop in Waiheke Island. If Waiheke's where you decide to come, make sure you save some good money before you come here, so that it'll make your transition easier and you won't have to eat corned beef and cabbage for your dinner meals, and there'll be better options for you for food, and also you'll have the luxury of maybe buying a scooter for $900 or $700 or whatever they're going for, and have a bit of transport, be able to afford, you know, a litre and a half of petrol to fill up your scooter, and actually have a better quality of life while you're here. Yeah, I think that's about it. Like I said, I'm not going to cover the flatting situation, because each of those varies depending on the flat, depending what the expenses are, depending on how many people live there. But I did cover setting up your own place and living in a backpackers, and the transport options and stuff like that. Yeah, so once again, in my costs that I covered, that's the bare minimum. That's not talking about going out and having a good time as well. Yeah, that's basically sitting on the beach with a bottle of water, an 89-cent bottle of water, and looking at the sunset. You know, I'm not talking about going out and drinking beers and actually doing normal stuff that you might be able to do in Asia, and places like that. So basically that was my cost of living video. I'm going to do a cost of living video in each place that I live. This is my hometown, so I feel free to speak on it, and I feel knowledgeable about what things cost and what things don't. No, it's not the cheapest place to live. Is it worth living here? It is beautiful. Like, it is heaven on earth. And you know, if you have to pay for that little slice of heaven, and you can, I suggest you do. But just be aware, when you come here, you got to be prepared for those extra costs, especially if you don't want to live a low quality of life. Anyway, peace, love, namaste.